Normally, I would be filming in the car, talk about my day. It's been unexpectedly, ridiculously crazy, but it all hopefully is working out well as we go along. I'm right now in the process of making dinner for my family. It is 5:21 p.m. It's Christian DeBouche, licensed realtor with Real Broker, in my kitchen cooking. A friend of mine who's also a realtor has invited myself, my son, and my wife to enjoy the sunset at the beach, our closest local beach here in Treasure Island. So I'm just getting the pasta, corn, and etc. ready, the dinner ready, so that we can eat, then hit the beach. And I just wanted to talk about my day because as soon as this day is over, I want to just decompress. So I just got off the phone with the buyer's agent for my duplex in St. Pete. We had our inspection today. Today happens to be the end of our inspection period. That being said, the inspection report's not going to come right away. So they wanted a bit of an extension. That's not a problem. My clients, however, are on vacation. I forgot where, and I forgot that fact that they were on vacation. So I sent them a message and text early this morning, like, hey, inspector mentioned this out loud. I don't know if I was just ear hustling or blah, 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 blah. Or if I shouldn't have known that at all. But I sent the text around this morning. The inspection was from about 10 to 1 p.m., 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. There were two inspectors, so it went by much faster. But no response. Sent some pictures, no response. And then they came back today saying, hey, they came back this afternoon saying, we need a 2-day extension because we're not going to get the inspection report before the end of the day. It's already the close of business. So I said, well, yeah, that's not unreasonable, except for the fact that I can't get in touch with my client. And that's when I realized that my client and his wife, my clients were on vacation. And I thought they had mentioned it before. I thought it was a different day, but I thought it was around July 4th, but they didn't actually vacation on July 4th. They were actually doing some repairs on the property that we had uncovered during the previous inspection when we were under contract the first time. So right now I'm just chopping some green peppers and some onions. That's why I'm crying. But no, but he got back to me. They're actually in St. Martin, so thank God for that, because they're in our same time zone. Because the concern that I had was, if they're in Italy, which I honestly thought they would be in Italy or Spain, that's a minimum of 5 hours from us, time zone wise. So they'd either be drunk enjoying themselves or asleep, and they wouldn't sign the back. And the buyer's agent said, hey, I need to cover my bases, was also going to send us a release and cancellation form, not because they wanted out of the deal, but because he wanted to cover his ass because it's the end of the inspection period, and then come right back into an once they were back in. I'm like, that's just complicated. Like, why send a release to renew the contract afterwards? And the way emails work, I don't know how yours works, but I said in my email inbox, the most recent email is the one I see first. So if I send an extension, and then an hour or two later, in his case, he wanted to send them both at the same time just to cover himself. And I send later on a cancellation, he's going to think the deal's dead because of the inspection. So I said, give me like 5 hours at least. If you want to cover your tail, send it to me before midnight, and I'll send it to them thereafter. But there's no expectation because I don't know where in the world they are. This is a funny scenario where I do not know where my clients are. But thank God my clients called me back. They're in St. Martin. They just literally came off the beach and said, hey, I just got your text messages about the inspection. What's going on? And I mentioned they wanted a 2-day extension. He's like, all right, cool. I also mentioned, that came up in conversation with the buyer's agent, that because we have an eviction of one of the tenants, and it happens to be the same unit that the buyers want to occupy, they'd like us to extend the closing date from the 3rd week of this month to the 1st or 2nd week of the next month. And my seller's completely okay with that because evictions, they can be messy even in the best case circumstance, and we just want to alleviate any issues for the buyer, because my clients definitely want this property to get sold. I'm more annoyed for my own selfish reasons, meaning I'm going to get paid 2 weeks later, but it is what it is. And sometimes I get the sense like, oh, when I'm watching these videos over, I feel like the agent that can't shoot straight because I'm in contract, I'm out of contract, I'm in contract, I'm out of contract. I have offers not accepted. I have offers that my clients have no interest in. I write offers that the other buyer, the seller may not want. Like it's all these back and forths that keep happening in real estate, and it's like annoying. But at the end of the day, like that's just how we make our money. We're dealing with people, we're dealing with emotions, we're dealing with different sets of expectations. Some people have a hut, some people have a teardown, and they all think they're mansions. And it's not me necessarily trying to reset expectations, even though that's part of my job. It's about educating the client as to what the market keeps reiterating or keeps telling them that, hey, you love your property or you want to get this price, but it's not happening. In other news, we're coming out of contract for another listing that I have, the one that I've been trying to get under contract forever, because the investor decided to pull out. He can't find, his partners are just no longer interested in the property that he had so much faith in. And the conversation comes across as if he's maybe more of a junior partner than he let on. So as a result, we're coming out of contract. And I told my client, and I felt really, really bad about it because this is the client I mentioned that has some health issues and concerns. But she takes it all in stride because I guess in her perspective, it's the least big issue that she's working with. But she's asked me to extend my contract with her from the end of next month, which is going to expire at the end of July, to the end of the year. She says, I have complete faith in you. You've done everything you can to get this property sold. We're going to give you more time. And we decided we're going to leave the price where it is. And we're just going to set, because the market is a complicated market. It is a buyer's market. It is, like you've seen from my videos, getting in and out of contract just because, a buyer finds another property that makes more sense for them. And sellers' expectations need to be reset over and over and over and over and over and over again. So she's been extremely patient with me. I really want to get her property sold, but she's also says, hey, I have the time, I have the money, I can wait. So I normally like to take just 90-day listings and renew, add another month or two on top of it. But for her, I really want to sell her property, and she's the one that suggested, hey Christian, let's go to the end of the year. If it doesn't sell, then we'll go to February. She has complete faith in me that I'm doing everything I can to get her property sold, and I appreciate that. So that's where I'm at. And then for the other listing that I always mentioned, the one in Ybor, the buyers said that they're reviewing the contract that I sent them, that from the terms that they wanted. If this goes through, I'll be able to double in this deal. I'll be representing the buyer and the seller again. It's like the fourth time that this has happened to me. I feel lucky because I don't know, a lot of agents never get to do that. I'm learning the hard way maybe why they don't want to do it, but it's very interesting to me to be basically representing both sides, because at that point I'm representing the property and trying to understand the interests for both. They like the contract, they're reviewing the terms based on their own business needs, and then we're going to move forward with submitting the offer to my sellers either tomorrow or the day after. And then I gave the broad terms to my seller of when they want to close, how much the offer is going to be, and etc. And they're broadly amenable to it. I think being on the market for over a year has basically humbled them in terms of what they can expect to get in this market. So yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic that my sellers will finally say yes for the property in Ybor. I'm cautiously optimistic that every inspection that we have on every property leads to headaches, but both sides want to buy the property, want the transaction to take place in St. Pete. And for the listing that I have in Oldsmar, I'm just happy that my client has so much faith in me to keep bringing buyers to her, keep bringing people to the property. Because in Oldsmar itself, it's pretty challenging. I've had very little activity in that market because there's beautiful McMansions, and then there's, row homes and mobile homes. Not anything against that, but it makes pricing the neighborhood really hard. When a property on the same street can go for $100,000, and down the street, same street, 2 million. It makes it hard to to set the right expectations for buyers and sellers at the like. But I know I can get it done. So Christian DeBouche, towards the end of creating a pasta surprise for the family. After they eat, we'll be headed to the beach. All right, talk to you later. Peace.